Okay, welcome to another episode of the Are We There Yet video series from 2.4 Travel. This week I'm very excited to have Nick Arundel joining me. If I said your name, I hope I pronounced it right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's perfect, yeah.
So Nick is a professional photographer, a Canon ambassador. He teaches photography in schools, does been doing a lot of online workshops, and is also a very passionate traveler. And so we thought it'd be great to get Nick involved with our Travel from Home campaign that we've been doing. And really, as we said before, this campaign is about giving people ideas for skills and things that they can be doing when you can't travel, so that when you do come around to travel again, it's a wee bit better. So Nick, thanks for joining us. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview and a bit about yourself?
I'll give you a little rundown. So currently based in the UAE, currently based in Dubai, UAE. I've been here now for 2.5 years. And photography wasn't a main big passion of mine growing up and through the 20s. It basically has only come around in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I lived in the UK. I was an IT engineer. And in 2016, I decided to literally sell everything I owned and went traveling around the world, which was the best experience you can ever have.
Yeah, I know how you feel.
And picked up a camera, bought a camera, like a basic level entry camera. And as I went around the world for 18 months, the camera was basically my travel buddy because I had no family members. It was just a single trip. When you're backpacking and you go through all these countries, you meet loads of new people, but eventually you'll go your way and they'll go their way. So you might meet someone for 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, but essentially people coming in and out of your lives through that period. The one thing that was constant to me was the camera. And through that 18 months, I went from a kind of just above a novice level to kind of, mid-level entry. I got kind of good traction on Instagram. Obviously, people were trying to follow me because I was going to all these exotic places. And obviously, the better places you go, hence the picture behind me. This is the San Blas Islands in the Caribbean, if anyone wants to know. Nice. Absolutely delightful. You're going to take pictures and you're going to get better at taking pictures the more you're with the camera. So as I was going around the world, I decided that I wasn't going to be moving back to the UK. I was going to find a new destination to call home, made it Dubai, and I had started up my own photography business, which started, as you can imagine, there's a lot of photographers here in Dubai. And getting into that market with having no back portfolio, I didn't have a portfolio back in the UK, being an IT engineer. So for the first year was very much doing work for free or very, very little money just to get that back portfolio. Over the last 18 months, all that hard work that I put in the first 18 months is all coming back. Since then, my company is now a brand partner for Canon. We deliver Canon Engineers Academy into schools across Dubai and the UAE. That's actually going to be expanding out to further afield, Singapore, South Africa, Lebanon, Qatar. And the other part of the business for that is just basically a freelance photographer and videographer. So I do events, portraits, interior work. So there's 2 elements to it. There's also another element with 3 other guys here in Dubai. We run virtual workshops. We're called Living the Lens. So if you guys want to have a look at us, livingthelens.net, we do workshops, 2-3 of them a week on photography, just on your basics and different genres of photography and what you can get out of it. And that brings us up to the current point of everything was going all nicely. And then suddenly, boom, we're in this virtual world where everyone's having to get a grips with the computer, hence these Zoom chats with yourself. How can you get on in business, or how can you take your business into the new virtual world? And basically what we've done is, with the Canon side of things and the Living the Lens, is we bought a lot of virtual workshops for free content, just to basically give our experience and knowledge back to the viewers, just so that they, when we can start to get to places like the one behind, you've got a bit of an added advantage of what settings to use. And what you can do with your camera.
Excellent. Superb. Yeah. I think, like, for me, I think we were traveling at roughly the same time. We're taking like a bit of time out. And I know you went a bit further than I did. You spent a bit longer doing it. But I'll be honest, like my photography skills did not improve at all the whole time I was away. Now I spent a lot more doing like maybe video and drone and stuff like that. But
yeah,
photography's always sort of scared me because I don't know where to start. And I think that's part of the problem for a lot of people. So I think maybe today, like what I wanted to, and I know like you're running online courses for these and stuff, and it might be good. People can obviously jump into those. But it was some of the things, we've got a few questions coming in from people last week on social media and stuff. Yeah. So one of the first things is like with equipment, like where do you start? How did, like you said you bought a basic camera. I spent a lot of time and bought, you know, like DJI stuff. And then a couple of questions that people were asking as well were things like, you know, do you have to buy an expensive camera or can you just use an iPhone?
Yep. So it's a great start. And do you know what? Like I say, I'm a brand ambassador and a storyteller for Canon. So I do lots of seminars, lots of talks across the GCC. And that's the main question you always get asked about: how much should you spend on your equipment?
Yeah.
And the best part, the very first part of my seminars and talks, I show you pictures that I took from all around the world. This one behind me. Now, this one was taken on a basic level entry camera. It wasn't full framed. It wasn't 20,000 dirhams. It was 2,500 dirhams, and it was a lightweight camera. I was going traveling for a long period of time. I needed to have something that was lightweight and could endure 18. You know, originally it was 12 months, and I extended it, so it needed to endure the long period that I was traveling. There's no point in taking a big DSLR. You know, I'm a Canon user, so I'm only going to reference Canon.
Sure.
You know,
other brands are available.
Other brands are available, Sony, Nikon. But yeah, the business camera that I use now is a Canon 5D Mark IV. And if you was to hold that, it's heavy, very heavy. The camera that I used was very lightweight. It had a kit lens on it, which means it come with a lens that was very small. And I then purchased another small lens when I was traveling because I realized I needed something that was a bit further away. So I got something like a 300mm lens, but again, very lightweight and was easy to carry in the bag. If I was to do that trip again, I would probably buy a mirrorless. So I've been testing a mirrorless out from Canon at the minute for my landscape photos. Yes, they're a bit more expensive, but they give you better quality photos. And obviously, because I've now jumped up that level, I kind of want to produce those pictures that you kind of need for the frame camera. But essentially, the camera doesn't make you take these photos behind. Okay? It's you yourself. It's the composition there. So first of all, forget the camera. That picture there behind is come from my eye. And in my eye, I wanted to tell a story that the viewers can see, the audience can see. So we know we're in the Caribbean because we've got a tree, and then there's a little dinghy here and there's a boat. So you kind of understand the story that we've got off the boat and we've got the dinghy, it's come up to the beach and we're just chilling. So it hasn't just been randomly picked. It's been seen, a story's been told in my head, and then I've thought, I'm going to take that picture. So then once I've got the camera, I then assessed the composition, adjusted a few settings. I mean, you can start in auto, which is where the camera suggests.
It's me. I'm a green mode type of guy.
Keep it in auto. You can take it off on auto and start to understand shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. But at the beginning, all I keep telling people is it doesn't matter how expensive your equipment is. Shoot as many photos as possible. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Experience counts experience counts for a lot. So, for instance, you know, in that trip, I think I took, I dread to think how many pictures I took, gigabits and gigabits and gigabits. And I didn't throw, do you know what? I didn't throw any of those photos away. And this is a little tip and trick for you guys at the moment. If you've got a back catalogue of photos, if you've got 2 hours in the afternoon coming up at the moment with this isolation, I know we're allowed out for a restricted amount of time, but I went over my photos the other day. I was a bit bored, and I've got thousands and thousands and thousands. And I went and I picked Bali, and I picked 3 photos that I completely forgot, and I edited them and I put them up on my social media last week. So we're talking 4 years ago I took those pictures, and I only just come around to seeing them because I completely forgot. And the thing that is better for me now is my editing has gone obviously, because the more photos that you're editing, it's like taking pictures. The more photos you take, the better photos you're going to take. The more editing you do, the better your edits will get, or your edits change. So as you evolve as an editor, colors change. Like, for instance, you know, the blues might not be that light blue. I might have changed the blues, or the yellow might be a little bit softer. So your colors and your saturation and vibrance change as you go. So again, I had a look at these photos, completely forgot about them. One was an amazing sunset, and one was a sunrise in Mount Bator, where we climbed it at like 5:30 in the morning. And I've got this picture of the monkey on the top of the clouds. Completely forgot, didn't even know I had it on there. Wow, look at this picture, I've just found it. So it's another little tip and trick that I will just keep saying in this time that we've got a lot of time on our hands. Go back over your old photos. Even if you've edited it once, you can always edit it again, and you can always improve your techniques as you go.
Yeah. And funny, like, so you touched a bit on there, you know, moving off the sort of green button away from auto. So if you take your average, like, say, for example, your average guy, he's got a family, you know, the holiday plan to, I don't know, Croatia next year. And he's thinking, I want to get really good. You know, I want to take some really nice photos, because at the end of the day, it's all about creating memories, you know, and having it for the children to look at and things like that.
Yeah.
Where, like, how would you recommend he moves off that green button? So I know you mentioned that you do some courses and workshops. Can you tell us a bit more?
Sure.
That would help?
Yeah, I think, look, if you think you're going to turn up on day one in Croatia and start taking these amazing pictures like David Bellamy was doing 30 years ago in the UK, I'll tell you now, guys, it's not going to happen. You kind of need to understand the camera before you get to day one of your holiday. And the best way to start doing that is now. So for if it's going to be the summer, or, you know, whenever, 6 months time, YouTube videos. Obviously, we do these virtual workshops on Living the Lens, where we show you the fundamentals of photography. So we do different types of genre, because one thing that people get very confused about is they think once they understand the settings of the camera, that basically fits in every sort of genre of photography.
Right.
No, landscape settings are completely different to portrait settings, completely different to interior settings. So the three elements, like I just run through with you earlier on, with ISO, which is light, the light coming into the camera. We've got the aperture, which is the depth. So how much of the photo do you want sharp? So I don't know if you've ever seen those photos where you get a nice sharp subject and behind it's all blurry. That's the aperture.
Okay, I've tried taking those.
It's hard. And then you've got your shutter speed, where you can determine how quickly the shutter clicks in place. So, for instance, when you see the clouds with a movement, or you see the light trails of the cars on a motorway, and you see, you know, you don't see the car, but you just see the light trails, that's all to do with your shutter speed and how long you've actually got the shutter open for on the camera.
Okay. And so your courses sort of cover each of those?
We cover all of that. Yeah, we cover everything you want to, with apps on your phone to get the best out of your photography on your phone. We cover things like.
So notice you were doing one on time lapses.
Yeah, we just done one last week on time lapse. That's on the
website.
Open to,
like, is that realistic for like your everyday Joe blogs just to turn up and do?
No. So the way we're setting these workshops out, they're just teasers to get into the main live workshops when we're allowed to get back up and working again in sort of September, when the sun isn't so hot. So what we're giving you is the basic knowledge to get into, so you can start, testing it out yourself. So there's nothing wrong. People think to yourself, right, time lapses, I need to be in New York to run a time lapse because I need to know how it works in New York, because you've got all the people moving in the cars and the buildings. Essentially, you can walk to your balcony or go to your window, open up your window, and when you've got clouds moving past, what's wrong with you just putting your camera up and understanding how time-lapse works while the camera's just looking up to the clouds and you've got the clouds going past? You don't need to be in an exciting location to start understanding. Essentially, if you've got kids, the wife, the family, the husband, put the camera up in the corner of the room of your house and just understand how many seconds, what the shutter speed needs to be, what settings you need on the camera, and then for an hour, just let the camera take pictures of your wife or the family going round, and then understand how that then goes into editing software and,
Right,
and how you produce the end product. You don't need to be, on the top of the Burj Khalifa to understand time lapses. What you want to do is you want to use this period to get to a point where, do you know what, I'm really happy I could go on top of a building here in Dubai and take a time lapse and not go home and go, I've just seen the most amazing sunset or the most amazing thing from day to night, and you never got the right settings.
Yeah.
And, okay, we're going to have to start again.
That's actually like what I was going to ask about now. Like, is it, most people are locked down in their house at the minute, and you've just sort of covered it. Like, is it possible to use such a small space,
So without sounding silly, last night I was bored. We'd done a workshop. It was about 8 o'clock at night. I looked out and the moon was outside, and it was like a crescent. It wasn't even a full moon. It's not even a shot that you're going to put on your social media to say, right, wow, look at the moon. But the fact is, I was so bored and I'm so eager to start getting content again. I got my tripod out, I got my camera out, dusted off the 70 to 200 mil, and for about half an hour, I just shot the moon.
Okay.
Taking down the ISO, trying different settings. Because generally, when you're in the field and you're going out to shoot a full moon, you're so not on edge, but there's pressure to get that shot because you're out there. There's no point in waiting for the one day of the full moon a month, and suddenly you don't get that shot with it going across the Burj Khalifa or the Burj Al Arab, so you don't really get to try out different settings. You go off settings that you already know because you're in your comfort zone. And so last night was just a good opportunity to point the 70 to 200 up at the moon and just start going, right, ISO 800. Can I push it down to 400? Do I need more light? Do I need more aperture? And just had half an hour playing with the camera. So it doesn't stop, by us being in the house, doesn't stop us progressing with our photography. We can, like I say, the time lapse is a great thing. Portraits, one of the good tips and tricks, this is one I tell all my Canon kids that I'm doing the workshops, is called the alphabet game. Okay, so this is a great one for the kids around the house and adults. So start with A. What am I going to take a picture of? Apple. Right, okay, we'll take a picture of an apple. Then we'll do B. What can we take? B. Whatever. We take a picture of something beginning with B, C, and just take your pictures. Just go through the house and just start working on taking pictures of things in your house that begin with the letter through the alphabet.
Well, that's a great game. Like,
good luck with Z.
That's a great game, like just to keep the kids, as a game as well. Something to entertain them for a couple of hours.
So that one, the alphabet, and the other one I do is the rainbow. So get them to print off the rainbow chart, and they have to go through the house looking for colours of the rainbow. Whether it'll be a dress, a ball, a bat, whatever, they've just got to go through the rainbow colours to find. And it's just a good way of just keep on, because once they get to Z, we'll go back and do A again and find another thing with A and just keep going through. But portraits is another one. If you've got family in the household, then try and take pictures of, portraits, understand light. I'm looking at you now and I can see that there's a window to your left, to your right, my left, which is bringing in natural light. So try and understand natural light.
Features and
I was going to say, I
think it might be better if the curtains were closed, to be honest.
Face for radio,
definitely.
And so you could put your subject in natural light, take away from natural light, and put it in the corner behind you where I can see there's not enough light. What's the difference between the photos? Where would you want your subject to stand? Where's the sun coming from? So there's like loads of techniques you can still improve on while you're in the house. The mums and dads might get a bit bored after every other day. Dad, can you stand in the light? Can you stand in the light? But like I say, that these are the techniques that you can learn at home. Yeah, and then you're ready to go out into the big wide world once we're fully out there.
That's great. Because I would be I'm the guy that is sitting on the beach looking at sunset, trying to work out how things, my time lapse things work and stuff. And I think again, you've touched on something that I was going to go on to. It's like, we're all about family travel, and we do family travel in a way that it's not about like the kids sitting in the kids club watching movies or playing with toys that they play at school or nursery or whatever. It's about getting them out into the real world and immersing them in culture and as much adventure, nature, things like that. And I think photography is such a great way to do that. So you know, I was going to ask you about tips for how do you get kids involved in it at a young age? Because I know, like, my son loves running about with a phone, taking
with a camera.
pictures, and
You
so
know, one of the things that I've learned and having taught in the schools now for 18 months is the kids essentially, they want to understand a little bit about theory, but at the end of the day, they just want to take photos.
yeah,
So, you know, like I say to them when I'm in the classroom with them, there's no such thing as a bad photo. It's a learning experience. So just get them. It doesn't matter whether you're a child or an adult and you want to start off. It's just about understanding the camera. And that doesn't come after 5 minutes of picking up a camera. These guys need to shoot. Doesn't matter whether it's on a mobile or DSLR camera, just shoot. And eventually as they get older or they're understanding more about the camera, they're going to understand that, do you know what, when I'm taking a picture of the Burj Khalifa, is it a good photo when the full building's there, or is it a bad photo when I've clipped the top off? If I go and I take a picture of mummy and half her face is missing or an ear's missing or a shoulder, is that a good photo or a bad photo? But essentially at the beginning, all they want to do is go, it's like a gun going off. It's like, and it's like sometimes in the class, I'm like, when I said take loads of photos, I didn't mean like have it on auto.
Kids nowadays are so obsessed with, you know, mobile devices, cameras, things like that. Everything.
Social media, social media's brought that to the forefront. So you know, like I think, you know, we was going to go on to the next topic, which was mobile phones, which they're great for social media and they can get the content that you want. But essentially, if ever you want to blow up a photo, you know, for me, when I take photos, I want the wow factor. Okay, I'm at that level now where if I'm going to post something on my social media, I want people to go, wow. It's a very egotistical kind of job. You know, when someone says, oh, I don't really like your photo, you're like, oh, you know, you're a bit down about it. So essentially, I'm always searching for that photo that people are going, wow for. Those photos, I want hanging up around the house. So to do that and blow a photo up to a size that you need around your house, you need to be shooting in something what we call RAW, which is on the bigger cameras.
Right, yeah.
When you've got a mobile phone, it's got a tiny little sensor on it. So it will take the photo that you require and it will work for social media. Because when we're looking at our mobiles and we're looking at Instagram or Facebook, essentially we're only looking at a thing that's about that big.
Yeah.
If you're looking at something that's going to go on the wall, okay, the bigger you blow it up, the more pixelated and noise that it will get. And essentially it's because the sensor on these mobiles are tiny compared to the sensor on a full-blown, full-frame DSLR. So we can shoot in RAW, which basically allows us to manipulate that photo. It's like an 50 to 80 meg photo. Okay. If I wanted to change the greens on this tree, I could change it to red, to yellow, to whatever. If I wanted to change the sky, I could change it. When you're shooting in JPEG, which is around about 2 to 5 meg, it doesn't have all that information in. And essentially, when you try to change the colors or try to change anything, you're just going to pixelate and blow it out. So you can't do what you need to do with your photos. But for your day-to-day and for just your social media, the mobile's perfect. But if you're going to want to start hanging pictures up on your wall, that's when you need to get your proper camera.
Okay. And then with editing, like editing it's a bit of a minefield. Like, and you know, there's so many softwares out there. There's so many different options. And you've probably already answered this. So I'm guessing things like apps for editing are only really good for your social media type stuff. If you want to hang a picture on the wall, like going in your background, you need something pretty robust and professional to do that.
Nice little segue into this. So I just literally done a virtual workshop for Living the Lens on Lightroom CC for your mobile. Right. So I don't know if you've heard, there's an Adobe product called Lightroom and Photoshop. So you can pay basically, I think it's like equivalent in dirhams, we're looking at like 30 dirhams a month. Okay. And what that allows you to do is have subscription with Adobe, and it gives you a multitude of apps that Adobe do. There's like Adobe Bridge, Illustrator, things for graphic designers, way above what a photographer needs. Then there's Photoshop, that's an absolute beast. And then there's Lightroom, that's perfect for photography users. So it allows you to down your highlights, put your exposure up, change a few colors, And then if you need to do anything like remove someone in the picture, say I took that picture there today and there was someone in the picture and it's no relevance, just someone, you know, sitting there, I could remove them from the picture. Okay. Or I could add a few more clouds in the sky or put a sun in the sky. I can do replacements.
Yeah.
You can't do that in Lightroom. Okay. The majority of photographers will use Lightroom, but it is a cost. So there are free apps out there that have just got your general exposure and highlights and colors. But as it's a business for me, I purchase Lightroom. And on the app, on the phone, sorry, Lightroom do a Lightroom for mobile. Okay. So essentially, if you're on the go and you want to pump, you know, you want to edit and pump something out quickly, you don't want to wait to get home, you can actually pull the app up on your phone and essentially have the same sliders and the same information and stuff that you can change is actually on the mobile. So you can upload the photo in the car or coming home or whatever. You can go boom, edit it and upload it straight away. Okay. So you can do it on the fly. There are apps out there that allow you to do it quick. The thing for me is I kind of enjoy the editing part. So rather than me doing it on the fly, I'd rather come home and spend 20 minutes on an edit rather than 2 minutes just to get it out on Instagram. I'd rather wait, get it done properly and then publish it.
But like, so for you, again, like your sort of average traveler, you know, there's plenty of free apps out there.
Well, I mean, I can only speak for the iPhone, but I know because I've got it. I do know Samsung have got the options. There's the editing software within the phones now themselves are very, very good. Okay. They've got filters. You can change it from black and white, vibrant, saturation, highlights. It's got all that in it. I think what the paid apps do is just give you a little bit more. Level. You know, you're another level. But essentially, for the traveler that's just floating around, got their phone on them, the inbuilt apps from the manufacturer are perfect. They're okay.
What about this like hashtag no filter? You know, like everyone says, you know, I don't know. I look at some of these and I'm going, that's still got a filter, or that's got.
I'm gonna tell you something, guys. Every photo that you see on Instagram that you go wow to has been moderated, touched up. It's not real. So again, if you was to come and watch one of our virtual workshops, one of the workshops that I did last week was to show everyone what the raw photos look like when they come out of my camera. Right. You won't believe it. They're black. They're literally dull. There's nothing in color. What we do is we do a technique called underexposed, especially with landscape photography, because you'll hear this, if you come onto our sessions, you'll hear this word quite a lot. It's called dynamic range. And what that means in the professional world is where there's blacks in the photo, in the editing software, we can pull those blacks via the shadows, we can pull them out. If you're overexposed, meaning the photo's too bright and too light, it's very hard to pull those highlights back down because essentially the photo is blown out. So it's easier to bring a photo out than it is down. So we underexpose these photos and they look dull and they look horrible. And you'd think, Christ, I'm never going to go and visit this place or go there. But give me 10 minutes where I can add a bit of color there and this there and pull that out. And you're going to go, wow, this guy's taken an amazing picture. Then you've got the guys in the digital world where they'll take, for instance, they'll cut this tree out of this photo. Then they'll go to, they'll go to South America and they'll take a sunset there. Then they'll go to Iceland and shoot a waterfall, and they'll put all three of those pictures in together. Right. And so essentially what you're seeing is not what the viewer is going to see from sitting in that spot, because you've got 6 different locations in that photo. Right. Yeah. It's manipulated massively. So if you're trying to, and I do it myself, I sit there and I gauge these other guys that have got 1 million viewers on Instagram and big Facebook. And I go, I want to take those pictures. How the hell did they take those pictures? Essentially, those pictures aren't real. They're not there. Well, that just sums up social media, really, doesn't it? Yeah. It's just a fake thing. So essentially what me and the 3 other guys in Dubai like doing is we like taking pictures that aren't, yes, we remove a person if the person's in it, or we remove a bit of litter, but essentially we're not doctoring the photo so it becomes not real. And I've got nothing against them digital artists at all. They're amazing. How their brain works, creative. You know, they've had to design that in their brain before they've stitched that photo together. What we try and do is just, it's different. But what we try and do is just we'd prefer to spend more time behind the camera than editing. Those guys are more about 60%, 70% of their time is editing, 30% of their time is taking the picture. So we're kind of the other way around.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. I suppose, again, if we go back to this sort of average traveler, he's heading off next year. We've covered, like, you know, it's not all about equipment. We've covered, you know, that you can practice at home. You can get used to the camera, get used to settings, spend a lot of time when we have it now. We've covered a wee bit about editing. Is there any other tips and tricks, like say your top 3 that you would give to these guys, whether it be storage of, you know, photographs and I don't know.
Think about kind of covering what we've already gone over. I mean, think about what you're going to take equipment-wise. Laptops, because you're going to want to, if you're going to want to edit on the go, to make sure you've got your laptop. SD cards. I know, for instance, I keep harking back about our virtual workshops, but we've just done one on wildlife. One of the guys is a keen wildlife. He goes to South Africa. His wife's South African, so they're back there twice a year. And he will always tell you SD cards is really important, because when he's at a sighting and he sees a lion and he's sitting there, and then suddenly the SD card runs out, and hang on a minute, I'll just go through my bag, take 2 minutes, the lion's gone. So you be prepared in the equipment, SD card, batteries as well. Make sure, you know, at least get one more battery. A lot of these batteries that are being supplied with cameras at the moment, it's great work by the actual manufacturer, because they're giving you a battery, there you go, but essentially the battery only lasts a minimal amount of time, especially when you're traveling if you're going out for the day, you'll be very lucky if one battery lasts you half a day. So they're going to want you to buy another one. So equipment wise, get another battery. Make sure you got your laptop.
On the SD cards, one big one or several smaller ones?
For me, big as you can get, but get 2 or 3. Imagine if something malfunctions. Forget the size of the SD card. What happens if it malfunctions when you're halfway around? You're on a beach wanting to take this picture, and suddenly the SD card doesn't work. And it doesn't matter what manufacturer you get; they have their shelf life.
Not the problem.
So just get the biggest you can get. I mean, they are, the higher you can go, the dearer they are, but the frame rate's quicker. So, for instance, you know, if I'm trying to shoot really quickly, if you've got a cheaper one, it doesn't save to the camera as quick. The frame rate isn't as quick. So, like I say, if you're wanting a better SD card frame rate, i.e. quickness, then make sure that they've got good frames per second. So that's your SD cards. Make sure you got batteries, laptop, if you want to basically do proper editing. Otherwise, you can do it on your phone. I always carry a Lackey 1 terabyte hard drive separate to my Mac. Otherwise, I've got quite a low gigabit in my Mac. So as soon as you load up 2 photos, it goes. So by having the Lackey, I saw all my photos on the Lackey. I also have Apple in the cloud. So I'll essentially save the photo twice.
So it's backing up your backup to your another backup type thing.
Exactly. I will tell you a little story. In Australia, I lost all my photos. So my trip around the world, I spent 3 months in Australia, and literally I think it was the third to last night I was in Melbourne, because I come down the East Coast from Cairns. I dropped the hard drive and I picked it up. It's going bzz, bzz, bzz. And because I've been so on the go all the time, and in Australia, some of the areas are so remote, you don't get any signal. I was always going to wait until I got to the next destination to basically back it up. And I kind of lost 2.5 months worth. I've got the first 2 weeks in Cairns, and I've got sort of like the last 4 days. So I'd lost everything. So backup is all I can say.
I know we had Google Photos, I think Apple Cloud, and then we had 2 physical Lackey hard drives as well. So
you need it. back it up. That's the biggest thing.
While we're just covering that, I'm going to, sorry, I think one more tip, and then there was a couple of questions come in. I just wanted to make sure we have those covered off. So yeah, sorry, one more.
Yeah. So and then there's two tips and tricks to both sides of this. So I will always tell you that if there's a certain shot that you want and you've Googled it, so everyone that goes on holiday, whether it would be from Poland to Iceland to South America, wherever you're going to go, you're going to have Googled and YouTube the hell out of that place that you're going to.
Yeah.
There's going to be certain elements, certain something, whether it be a cathedral, a sunset, a beach, a spot that's looking down. Do your homework. So with those YouTube channels and stuff, find out what's the best time of day to go. When is it going to be the busiest? Is it worth getting up at 4:30 and going? All depends what you want to get out of that shot. If it's just taking a picture that most people want to do, then fine, just rock up whenever you want and take the picture. If you're looking to get something that's next level, it may mean that you've got to bite the bullet, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, beat the crowds, get to the top, get the sunrise, and you're done. So do a recce, do your homework. But there is also the other side to that, where a number of pictures that I've got have come off the back of just happening, ad hoc.
Yeah.
You know, so the camera's been ready in the room and in the bag, but I wasn't going to take that picture. And then suddenly I'm sitting there, and as a creative and my photography mind, I'm like, I need to take that picture. So always have your camera bag ready, whether the batteries are loaded up, SD cards are you've cleared the SD cards, and you're ready to go. So do a recce, but also just be on hand to take
my
that
favorite
shot.
pictures are always the candid, candid ones that you just randomly have captured and people aren't really looking or posing or anything like that. They've always been my favorite as well.
Yeah. Well, with those shots, you kind of need a long lens. Okay. And the reason why you kind of need the long lens is if I'm standing 1 meter away from you and I've only got this, or I've only got a lens that's 24 to 16 to 35 or 50mm prime, I need to get into your space. You're going to see me.
Sure.
And generally what happens, it's like when I take pictures of events or street photography, if you've got a flash and you're standing this, someone suddenly goes,
it's like, I always think about like Chandler out of Friends. Every time, some picture, it's just like grimaces.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me.
Yeah, exactly. The camera's there. So what you have to do is you have to be a distance away, and you have to kind of get the natural reactions from the people that you're trying to take. Whether you're in the local Indian village or Sri Lanka, you kind of want those people that are dressed, in their cultural dresses, but you want them not being false and giving you a smile, and you want them to be natural. So a tip there is you'd need a longer lens.
So one last question on that before we move on to the questions that we got sent through. Where do you stand when you're traveling, on that in terms of taking pictures of people without them knowing? Like, do you ask permission? Because always if you ask permission, then they do give that thumbs up. Or do you take a picture and then ask? Or
no, so I had this question recently come up to me, and my stance is take the picture, because you need the picture being real.
Yeah.
Minute you ask them, they already know you're there. So you suddenly there, and then once you've taken it, just go up to them. And I'm telling you now, whenever you visit Asia or definitely Asia, they want they love their picture. They're never going to turn you down for a picture. In fact, they want a picture back with you. Come on, Tom Cruise. I'm like, I wish I was Tom Cruise. So I take the picture, then approach them and say, I'll look at the picture, and they go, wow, can I use that? Yes, you can. So that's the method that I would use.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so I think last week it sort of said that you were coming on, and a couple of people had sent in questions. So and I think we will have covered some of those, but one of them was, what's the best camera to get for travel? This came from Nita. What's the best camera to get for travel? Not bulky, and preferably not a GoPro. Now, I know you're tied to Canon, but maybe you can...
Yeah. As a brand, look, to be honest, they all do exactly the same, okay? They've all got the same settings. Canon's not better than Sony. Sony's not better than Nikon. They've all got their unique... if different kind of genres you would purchase the different brand of cameras. The generic question here is, what camera would you buy if you went traveling? Depends on budget. Now I've got where is it? I've got my mirrorless here. Okay. Now, for me, when I go traveling now, I've got my 200. This is where I was shooting the moon last night. But this is small, okay? But it's expensive. But it's perfect for travel photography because it's so light, you wouldn't even realize it was in your bag. Right. So if your budget is high end and you want to learn photography, I would purchase a mirrorless, whether it be any brand, because of its weight. It's really, 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 really light. If you're going to go, if your budget is an issue, then just a basic level entry camera. And here's one. So this is the one I teach within the schools. This is a 4000D. Okay. It's not full frame. They're about 1500 dirhams, which is about 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. It shoots in RAW. So it will take a RAW photo for you. The video is HD 1080 and it's light. It comes with a kit lens 18 to 55, which generally is, most pictures are going to be street portraits or, you know, landscape like in the back. And this is kind of perfect. So, you know, again, budget's the first thing on your list. Is it high? Is it low? Then you want to look for what can you get the best out of that camera. Like I say, if your budget's quite high, the mirrorless is perfect. It's a full frame camera. You've got all the options in there that you need, and it's very, very light. If it's a basic level entry camera, look for, this is a 4000D Canon. Like I say, it shoots in RAW. It's got 1080 HD. And again, it's really light. It's got the live view in the back, and you can do the majority of the options.
Okay. Because, I think, and that covers, Steph had asked, is it possible to take amazing pictures on a smartphone, or do you need an expensive camera? So you've sort of covered that. That comes down to more of your eye and your composition.
More of the eye. Like I say, there's a lady here in Dubai that basically takes pictures with her Hawaii phone.
Okay.
And you wouldn't know that they were taken on her phone. Okay. But it goes back to the point that I made 20 minutes ago. The cameras on these phones, the sensors are very, very small, and it's the sensor that turns the actual picture that you're taking into a digital form.
Yeah.
Fine for social media, but if you want to blow those photos up, you're never going to be able to do it from your camera. Yeah. From your mobile, it'll have to be done from a proper DSLR. So you can take amazing pictures, but it's what you want to do with it at the end.
Yeah, yeah. And Steph had also said, how do you make colors so vibrant? Is it editing, or is it the type of camera, or is it just nature? And again, I think we've already sort of covered in that. You're shooting in RAW. You know, if you want to make it really pop, shooting in RAW and then doing your post sort of picture editing.
Yeah. What I would say, a little tip and a trick, and I, having gone back over my old photos in the last 6 or 7 years, it's natural to do this, where you saturate and vibrate and vibrance in the photo to the point where you think at the beginning when you're starting out that the photo looks amazing. When you actually look back, and I look back at my photos now, they're so oversaturated and vibrant that the picture doesn't look right. It looks, you know, the art of, for me at the moment, and I'm trying to, my editing skills is about color grading.
Yes.
And getting the point of, if the sun is here, then it's going to be the sun, and you're editing and you're getting your light source here. The bit that's in the shadows not going to have over bright yellow, and you know it's fake that the sun can get in that spot if you try and put sun in there. So the whole, what I'm trying to say is, don't try and oversaturate and put too much vibrance in the photo, because the photo becomes too over. And like I say, for about 2 or 3 years, I've been doing this style of editing, and people were saying it's fine and it's great, but I look back now and I look and I just go, wow, how on earth did I even publish that photo? Because it's just so oversaturated. So, yeah. But it, you know, I have kids now in the workshops, and adults do exactly the same. It's just a natural progression that you do. The first thing that you do when you get your edited photos, vibrant. I want the trees to look so green that, you know, and I want the sand to look so yellow that actually when you look back at it, you've gone, crikey, O'Reilly, that's too much, way too much past the scale. So that's just another little tip and trick. Just watch your color grading, and the other thing that I've started to do is walk away from my photos and then come back. So I'll edit them for 20 minutes and I'll go, wow, that's a really good. and I walk away, make a cup of tea, come back, nah, it's too yellow. But
it's like anything, I suppose, isn't it? Any letter, email, you know, it's always a good recommendation.
Exactly, just walk away and come back.
Yeah.
So that's what I do it now. I walk away and come back, give myself 15 minutes breathing space, come back, and then I'll say, no, that the oranges are too much down on that sunset, or the reds. And it gives you a good indication. Because I think when you're just looking at it for 15 minutes, you think, that's all right.
Yeah.
The minute you walk away, you come back with a different eye. So that's what I would do.
Sandy had asked, what is the best way to get a sunset shot? And I suppose maybe that comes back to, again, what you were saying, where you need to research, do a bit of prep, be ready for it, have practice. So
there's an app out there that I live and die by. It's called Photo Pills. Okay. Now it's a paid app, and it's going to be around about 30 dirhams again. So £6. And essentially what you do is you hold that app up, and it will tell you exactly where the sun is going to be during the day. So it will tell you where it's going to set. It's going to tell you where it comes up. It also does the moon. So what it allows you to do, it already allows you to pre-plan where you're going to stand to get that shot. So say, for instance, you know, what used to happen, I used to turn up, if it was just on the fly and I hadn't done a recce, I used to turn up and you'd spend 10, 15 minutes. And especially in the UAE, you'll find the sun rises and goes down very, very, very quick.
Yes.
So parts of Asia, especially in Australia, it seems like it goes on forever. But you'll be standing there and the sun will be in quite a high point of the sky. And then 10 minutes later, it's gone because it doesn't go down to the horizon. So you're very, very, you know, you're on time. You've got, oh God, I'm going to have to move here to here. What that app allows you to do is basically try and eradicate the time when you're trying to move around. Where's the sun going to go? Do I want it to hit the corner of the beach hut? Do I want it to flip off the Burj Khalifa? It essentially tells you, you hold it up. It's a virtual reality. So you actually see what you're looking at. And then you'll see the lines of the sun going down and where exactly it's gonna hit.
And what was the name of that one again?
It's Photo Pills.
Photo Pills. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So and then you're just looking for a good composition. You know, the sea and the sun is never going to make everyone go wow. You know, I started off doing it. I'm going to take a picture of the sun, and you just got the sea and the sun. You need something more in the photo. There needs to be an element of something in the foreground. You need clouds, boat on the sea, something to give the photo a bit more of a story rather than just sun and water.
And can you teach yourself that? Like, does that come from practice, or do you have to have that eye? You know, if you...
No. Like I say, you do learn it. And I think it's, you know, I've sat for hours watching guys on YouTube, how they go about it, how they edit their photos, what they're looking for in a composition. And then, you know, when I first come to Dubai, you know, as a photographer, I kind of thought photography was all genres. You know, if you like photography, you're going to like everything. Well, actually, I'm not really great with newborns. I'll take them for family and friends, but it's not something that my patients can deal with. But yet there's other photographers out there that love that. Yeah. Weddings, I'll do it again for family and friends, but essentially I don't want to do that. And so what I worked out over a year, 15 months, I kind of got rid of the genres of photography that didn't interest me, because as a photographer, if your passion doesn't come through in your photography, there's no point in doing it. It's just a wasted time. So, and I kind of, landscape is really, I want to travel. I love people going, wow, you're in this place, you're in that place, you're taking that picture. And then I cover a couple of portrait, you know, things to keep the business just ticking along. But essentially the passion is in landscape and street travel photography.
One last one then from Rich was, what is the best way to take photos at night on an iPhone?
There's not.
So again,
going back to, so what you've got to learn about night photography, it's dark. Okay, so it's dark. When you take a picture on here, the tiny little sensor, because it's dark, is trying to pull in as much light as possible to brighten up that photo. Okay, but by doing that, you basically you bring something to the photo called noise. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, where the photo, if you start going in, you'll see the black is pixelated.
No,
and it's blown out. So these phones, I know they've got a night mode on the iPhone above me now that basically tries to eradicate that. But essentially, if you're going to want to take nice, long exposed photos, so the way it works when you're doing a night photo generally on a DSLR camera is we will take the shutter speed down. Okay. So we'll go minus. So we'll do like 5 seconds where we go, and it's open for 5 seconds and then it closes. That allows the light from the photo to come in, but we keep our ISO down to the lowest 50 to 100, which is the lowest, okay, which stops the light coming in. But essentially you're gaining the light through the shutter speed. Okay. We have to put it on a tripod. Okay, so the tripod sits here. We have to keep it still because if I'm holding the camera for 5 seconds and I'm shaking, what are you going to get? You're going to get blurry photos. So essentially, for night photography, if you're doing a landscape, you need a tripod and you need to work with your shutter speed to gain the light. If you're working at night with portraits, you're going to need lighting, flashlights to generate your light for you. But going back, the short and sweet answer is you're never going to eradicate the noise within those night photos on an iPhone or a camera because of the small sensor and the light that it's trying to generate will pixelate and noise the photo.
Gotcha. Nick, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Inspired me.
Nice meeting you and coming on. Yeah,
a few things to think about there, especially for your sort of average. You know, I keep saying that average guy that wants to improve or up his game a wee bit, especially like
for sure
safaris and things like that. Those are the sort of trips we go on and things. So
yeah. Yeah, perfect. Like I say, guys, so I'm Nick at Nick Arundel Dubai on Instagram, and I'm also at Living the Lens.
Yeah, all the links will be in the comments and stuff like that for them.
Yeah, fine. Go through Richard for sure. If not, then come to me. You can come direct, and I can answer your questions. You can look up our workshops. You can see what we're doing. But yeah, any information, I'm really happy to give tips and tricks and stuff about photography. It's what we live and breathe and do. We love talking about it. So yeah, any other things, then please get in contact with me.
I'm definitely going to check out some of the workshops too.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Perfect. Cheers, Nick.
Appreciate it. Cheers. Thanks, Take care, guys. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.